Station 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, the most interesting stories you'll ever hear usually come from people who've had normal things happen to them and then somehow were able to move forward even though that normal thing may have been a huge challenge. You never know. The guy you sit next to in the airplane might have a story. I don't know if you want to ask him. Something might take the whole flight to hear the answer. Mark Moore has an amazing story. He has a book called A Stroke of Faith. If you're looking at the streaming video, you'll see the cover of the book. The subtitle is A Stroke Survivor's Story of a Second Chance at Living a Life of Significance. That's all you need to know to find out that this is going to be an amazing interview. Mark has some impressive credentials as well. He's the founder of the Mark and Brenda Moore and Family Foundation. He's talking about the Empowered to Serve Summit happening October 17th and 18th, and also the Urban Business Storytelling Competition in Washington, D.C. So looking forward to speaking to him right now. We got a short visit with Mark. Good morning, Mark. It's an honor to have you on our show. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Larry and Robin. Thanks for having me.
Where are you right now?
I'm right outside Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia.
So are you telling stories now after the stroke, or were you always a storyteller?
Actually, my wife will probably tell you I was always a storyteller. But having said that, yes, you're right, Larry. On October 17th and 18th at Gallaudet University, right here in Washington, D.C., we are convening a summit to try to address the root causes that impact the social determinants of health. And we're holding, as you mentioned, Larry, we're holding this urban storytelling competition, which we launch on August 18th. And we've asked people in local neighborhoods to submit creative solutions to try to find answers to factors that impact social determinants of health.
And what kind of people will be answering the question? Will it be everyday people or doctors or
everyday?
Yeah.
Everyday people,
Okay.
Individuals, companies, everyday people. While the American Heart Association, while we're certainly trying to address this, in order to address this, we want to work with the local people in the local communities. We want them to come to the table and join us, and we think together we can find a solution to the challenges that face us.
So when you were going through the aftermath of the stroke that you suffered, did you have a moment where mentally you made a decision, I'm not going to let this defeat me?
Absolutely, and thanks again for wonderful. I had 2 strokes at the age of 46. And in my case, again, a perfect example of what we're trying to do here. My strokes had nothing to do with my lifestyle or choices I was making. In my case, I had a stroke because I developed a blood deficiency, and the blood deficiency caused my blood to clot, and I had 2 strokes. Likewise, Larry, and we hear it all the time. The zip code you live in could play a determining factor in your health. The fact of the matter is, people living 5 miles apart can have a difference in the life expectancy of more than 20 years, simply based upon the zip code that you live in. And there's 2 things in particular we will focus on that we would like to address. One would be, if you think about it, exercise. The fact of the matter is, some neighborhoods have a scarcity of walking or biking paths, and because that people cannot get into a healthy exercise regimen. And the other thing I would point out to you, Larry, we use the term food deserts, and those are neighborhoods where people do not have access to healthy food choices such as fresh vegetables and fruits, combined with low income. And when you combine those 2, that will also have an impact on their health.
But could we? Okay, let's say we look up the zip code, we find out we're in the danger zone. Couldn't we do something of our own, even though there may not be a walking trail in our town? Couldn't we? Oh, I'm just going to walk anyway.
We could do that, but that's part of what we're doing with this storytelling competition. We're trying to get people together, people in those local communities, with this on October 17th to 18th, that this competition to submit ideas, creative ideas, to address these concerns. You're absolutely right, Larry, and that's what we're trying to do.
What did you do personally? What did you do to to get the best life you possibly could in spite of the fact that you had those strokes?
Obviously, what I did, again, you're absolutely right. I tried to do exercise, right? I did the exercise. I tried to do healthy living, and even with that, I still had the 2 strokes. I was able to overcome that and have a complete recovery. And what I'm now doing, I've dedicated my life, and thank you for mentioning that, Larry. I wrote the book, A Stroke of Faith, detailing my journey and trying to encourage others in their path to recovery as well. And I've also tried to work with the American Heart Association to make a difference in people's lives and their recovery.
Oh, wow. Good for you. And Brenda is your wife?
That's correct. Brenda's my wife.
Okay, so the two of you, has Brenda gone through a stroke, or was she affected by your stroke? Maybe that's a better question.
And I would say yes. And what I tell people is that people like to say I had a stroke, but the fact of the matter is the family had a stroke, right? Because when a spouse or wife has a stroke, when the other spouse has a stroke as well, because they are impacted as well. Brenda was as much of my stroke and my recovery as I was, and to this day she still is, and she partners with me with the American Heart Association. She's also an ambassador, and we go around the country trying to educate people on stroke prevention and stroke recovery and ways to improve our healthy living for all Americans.
I bet you've always been optimistic, though. I love the energy I'm feeling through the phone conversation. So I know it's a very short interview with you today. I want to make sure the listeners can find out more about the book and about your different organizations. So is there a website that gives us that information?
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, if I could, I would like to give you 2 websites, Larry. First, with regards to the book, if your listeners want to, you can go to astrokeoffaith.com, and they can find all about the book. But more importantly, I would ask your listeners to go to empoweredtoserve.org, empower with an ED, to serve.org, and they can find out about the storytelling competition October 17th, 18th at Gallaudet University here in Washington, D.C. But more importantly, ways to get involved. Larry, you touched it. We want to work with people in the local communities to find solutions to the health challenges that we face.
Okay, and does the book tell your story? Is it sort of a memoir?
Yes, the book tells my story. The book tells my story, and it also detailed the things that I did. I've been very, very fortunate to have a full recovery, and it will detail the things I did to help me to recover from 2 strokes.
Well, good for you. We love story. Everything that how do I say this? Everything that we have in technology, if you think about it, is all because of storytelling. The reason we like YouTube is because we see little stories. The reason we like TV shows is because they tell stories, right? Movies is because they tell stories. Books, because they tell stories. I think storytelling is probably one of the biggest moving things we have as human beings.
I think that is well said. Like I said, we ask people to participate in the storytelling, and we received 128 submissions. And from those 128 submissions, we're going to narrow it down to 10 finalists. And from the 10 finalists, we'll select 3 winners. And and to your point, Larry, some of the applications address things like urban farming and community transportation, right. And people come up with creative ways to try to address the challenges that we have in front of us in terms of healthy living. Mark
Moore, thank you so much for being on the air with us today, and good luck with everything. Definitely come back with the next book. It's called this one is called A Stroke of Faith. Mark Moore. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be breezy and humid on this Friday. Variable cloudiness along the coast with some showers and a thunderstorm. Clouds and sun inland with a